sketches just to get an idea of the proportions and posture and attitude. Get so early kind of Star Wars sketch. So we just go through lots and lots of iterations. We've got two full-time concept artists here, and then there's more concept artists over at Avalanche as well. And so the characters get quite a lot of different takes of them done by lots of different people. You can see we're getting to some more developed takes on Star Wars. So the balance here is kind of like what to keep really. And that one's actually quite close to what we've ended up with. So obviously the characters need to be simplified versus what you see in the movie, and so a lot of work's done on what are the important features to keep to capture the essence of the character. And then obviously, of course, for Guardians in particular, everything needs to go back to Marvel so they can get their input on everything, make sure that they're also happy with the way that the characters are being represented. So it's just some early attempts at the Cosmo character, so kind of using the psychic glowing eyes Cosmo, or just more of the regular dog. So these, I think these are from Up, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of like the cartoon dog characters. So in the end we went for the scene in the game, but gone for the...
Again, is it tough for you to kind of tone down this adult style of the Guardians comics to the Disney kiddie style of Disney Infinity?
So it's just a balance that we need to strike, really. But the Disney Infinity has it's kind of its own art style already, and it's similar things to the same sorts of problems as we faced on Infinity One, where you've got characters like Davy Jones, who's coming from a live-action movie, and then you've got, characters like Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph, and you've still got to make them both. You've got to make sure that the Davy Jones is satisfyingly true to the Pirates property, but then you've also got to make sure that it doesn't look completely out of place when side by side with a Pixar character. And so it's exactly the same issue over again. We need to stay true to the Marvel characters, but because we're kind of every character that goes into the Infinity kind of gets this pass where they're kind of recreated as a slightly more stylized collectible resin, but high quality collectible figurine. That kind of guides the art direction then for when you're turning a Star-Lord or a Gamora into Infinity characters.
So at what point do you start doing 3D prints and things like that to work from?
I'm not sure about the time scale. I don't think I can give you a time scale. It's just a question of, well, once we've got something that
nearly finished, basically.
So yeah, it goes through a whole bunch of iterations. Then once we've got a kind of character concept that we're happy with, that's when we move on to something more like this, where we're actually kind of fairly accurately representing the model as it will appear in the game. And then that will, there's the department that make the deal with the figurines is over in Salt Lake City. And so once we've got a design that we're happy with, that Disney are happy with, and Marvel are happy with, then they start looking at how they're going to pose the figure. So there's these are kind of pretty much concepts for the posing of the figurine. Obviously not floating, but that'll be a tall ask. Stationary pose or more of an action pose. And so then those guys will, once they've decided on something here that they're happy with, then they send it off to a company they use that does high quality 3D prints so that they can get something in their hands. And so yeah, we got to at the beginning of this project, I got to go over to Salt Lake and meet a whole bunch of people, including the guys who do the figurines, and they've just got a room that just every surface is covered with figures in various
Is this one that you borrowed from the surface? Himheimreine.
Oh, that's actually a Gibbs from Pirates of the Caribbean that was printed off on the slightly less high quality 3D printer that we've got in the other room. It was decided that it looks a lot like me, so it,
No, yeah, I was seeing some similarities. Yes.
yes, that's the characters. And then, we end up.
So, did you have specific characters that you were assigned to design in Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, not really. It's more just it's kind of everybody gets to have their input on it. So there's a number of artists who will all contribute towards, kind of like the Star-Lord design.
Yeah.
And then it's very much a collaboration. So yes. Let's show you some of these. So yeah, this was a super early take on the Scarans, where we found out the Scarans were the enemies in the movie. That was a very quick initial pass. Then once we started to get the actual movie reference in, we could take a step closer to what you were going to be seeing in the movie. And then this is some work that we did just to then experiment with different colours moving away from the movie slightly. And this is just because, as well as staying true to the property, we've got to make a game that's really good fun to play, and that means being able to clearly see the enemies in the environment. It's no good staying true to the movie reference if that's just meaning that you've got grey enemies on a grey background and nothing stands out. So this was an experiment that we did with just actually playing with the colour of their uniform. What we also worked with was this, which is close to what ended up in the game, which is staying with the kind of reference for the uniforms that they're wearing, but then using light details to highlight them in the environment so that they still stand out clearly for the player to be able to see them. So this is some work that was done for the Nebula environment. So this is Cosmo's security control room, which is up on the top of the big building in the centre of the place. So this is just some working through ideas of just kind of look and feel and changing the space. These are all different takes on what his computer concept is like. This is us using the concepts artist fair, helping us to kind of look at the play space more than the actual look and feel. So here we're just kind of working through different ideas of how many different tiers of playable space we might have in the docks area, so that we can kind of get an idea of the scale of how much we think we need to build to fit all of the story and mission ideas that we've got in there. And then this is just painting over to illustrate where all of the metrics that Tom puts in could potentially go. So it's not really a design, but it's an illustration. Looking at different ways of dressing same kind of environment. These ones as well, kind of a similar thing, so it's kind of doing a paint over of kind of, so this is based on movie reference that we've got, and then this is just having a look at, because the whole idea is that it's not a bespoke space station that's been built for the purpose, it's kind of been colonised and taken over, so this is just looking at kind of more of a improvised sort of shanty look, and then just crudely based in to see what a more clean, typical science fiction environment might look like. Where's my head screen? So this was some initial concept work on what we could do with the shape of the exterior of Nowhere, because it does vary a little bit through the comic books. It's just it's fairly robot heavy, and this is a far more stylised approach, depending on what these Celestials might look like. There was this one that we did, which is very closely based on how it looks in volume 2 of the comic book, like the slide that I showed earlier. Then when we got some more of the movie reference in, we found that they'd gone with much more of a skull-like approach, which we really, really liked. So that was the kind of course that we continued to follow with it. So it's beautiful. I guess that's so yeah, this is far less sort of 50s sci-fi robot and much more sort of organic looking one. So, yeah, and then that's modelled up into something we can use in the game. You'll have seen these in the game. This is the drop pods. We need a way of spawning enemies in, so we decided to try and make as bigger an event of it as we could do. So we came up with the idea of these drop pods that would rain in from the skies, and then we also did concept work on kind of like just the whole process of their life cycle. So, you know, landing and then how it begins to open, because we want to give the player time enough to destroy them before the enemies emerge from a gameplay point of view. So it's like a complete lifespan of what a drop pod will do. And that's actually, you'll have seen these in the game, and that's remarkably close to what actually is in the final game. Really successful. And then these are the Necrocraft, which you have seen flying around. There's also missions in the game where you get to jump on an AA gun and shoot these things down. And so we had to do quite a bit of work, because this kind of design is from the movie concept, and from a gameplay point of view we kind of wanted to have 3 different classes of them so that they could have different gameplay roles. What we found is that the large one's really easy to pick out and the small one's really easy to pick out, but when we had an intermediate sized one that was a more similar design, it was really, really difficult for players to tell the difference between one of these that was close up and one of this that was further away. So this is when we did some more work on this Necrocraft kind of thing. We've got the extra port for a different silhouette, and the wings are set further back, just so that you can identify them just from the